I am not defined by the number on the scale. As a matter of fact, I'm not defined by any number or any metric. I'm not defined by the amount of money in my bank account. I'm not defined by the degrees that precede my name or the titles that I have. I'm not defined by the accolades that hang out on my wall. I'm not defined by the number, and neither are you. This affirmation is one that's really difficult for us to get. See, a lot of our identities are tangled up in our accomplishments. And when it comes to your health, it's really easy to get seduced into believing that your health is defined by one number and one number only, and you know what that number is. That pant size, that dress size, that number on a scale. For so many of us that live in a weight-shaming society, we are taught to measure our success based on these metrics. And we all have this one particular number that if we were to hit, if I could only get into a size 34 jeans, if I could only wear a size 4 dress, if I could only hit 175 on the scale, we all have a number. And that number, oddly enough, is typically unattainable. Or if it is attainable, we've only spent a short period of time there. But we do this thing where we set up this system in our mind that says, if I were to hit this number, if I were to see this number on the scale, if I were to see this number in the clothing rack, then I would love myself. Then I would have self-worth. Then I'd stop the self-hatred. Until then, I'm gonna let the voice of self-criticality continue to ruminate in my mind. But I know that when I hit that number on the scale, it'll all be different. My work with NBC's The Biggest Loser, I saw this same rigged carnival game play out over and over and over again. If I could just hit this number, my life will change. If I could just hit this number, my self-worth, my self-esteem, my relationships, everything will magically change. And here's the reality, folks. Just like those rigged carnival games, they're all set up for you to lose. And unfortunately, even when you win, you lose. You know, I tell the story a lot, but every year when I go to the state fair, I'm always seduced into playing that basketball game. You know the one I'm talking about, the one with the goofy rim. It's like bent. I don't even think a ball is allowed to go through it. And then they give you this like really overly inflated ball. And I'm supposed to make like 18 shots in 20 seconds, something crazy. I play it over and over. And the reason I do is because I'm convinced that there's something about that game that draws me in. And if I were to win, that I feel good, I feel happy, right? The reality is that I'm not gonna win that game. That game's not set up for me to win. And even when I win, what do I win? I win some big overstuffed bear or something that like I wanna just throw away immediately. I don't even have room in my house for it. This is the same analogy we could use to the numbers in our lives. It's not just a number on a scale. It's not just dress size. It also could be a certain amount of money in your bank account. When you set up your happiness, when you set up your identity, your self-worth, your self-esteem, based on some external goal, I'll be happy when, my life will be different when, you're setting yourself up for the same rigged carnival game that I play year after year after year after year. There's no way of winning at that game. This I am affirmation for you is so critical to get right now. You need to understand that you are more than the number on the scale. Some of you right now are judging your health transformations based on the number on a scale. You're saying, you know, if only I got to this point, or I got to that point, then I lost it, so really I'm a failure. You know what? You're not giving yourself enough credit because you're defining it so strictly based on the numbers on the scale. Your life is not going to magically change overnight just by reaching a certain number. A certain number in the bank account, a certain dress size. Your life's not going to magically change. If you want to change your life, the beauty of this message is that while it's deflating in a sense that says it won't be everything you want it to be when you reach that number, the really amazing thing to tell you is that you can right now unlock that happiness. You can right now unlock the life that you've always wanted to live. You can right now rewrite your story, because rewriting your story is an independent process, completely separate from your health transformation. So the work that you're putting in to get bigger or more cut muscles, the work that you're putting in to lose belly fat, that's all great. Keep doing that. But just know that belly fat and muscles aren't going to equate to a new story for yourself. Only you can rewrite that story. And the same work that you're putting into the gym and the same work that you are putting into the kitchen, you have to put that same work into restoring your authorship rights, taking back the pen and rewriting your story. So, if that is the solution, why is it so difficult for us to do it? Why is it so hard for you? Some of you are resonating with what I'm saying. You're hearing me, but as they say in White Men Can't Jump, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're not actually feeling it inside your heart. You're not feeling it in your bones. You hear it makes good sense up here. But the reality is that your identity is still weight saturated. Your identity is still bank account saturated. Your identity is still accomplishment saturated. Your identity is still love saturated. Your identity is still Instagram likes and followers saturated. You are tying external things to your self-worth. And all I can tell you right now is the reason it's difficult is because we live in a society that says achieve this and you'll get that, right? Do this program, do the Rewriting My Story program, your entire life will change. Right? Do this, take this supplement, take this product. We are constantly inundated in this consumer society with messages that says your life will magically change when you do this. We also are in a society that has $1 billion industry, and billion may be understating it, that is lined up to sell you products to make you believe that if you could just have a flatter stomach, if you could just have more defined arms, if you could just fit into a certain type of clothing, that your life would all of a sudden change and you'd love yourself and things would be different and you attract different partners. All of it's a sham. But the issue is that we live in a society where it's all around us. So even if we reject that notion and idea, we're still going to be subjected to it because of the media that we take in, even if we don't watch television, because of the Facebook ads that we take in, even if we're not on social media. It's all around us, this pervasive message that you have to do something in order to earn this status in life that will ultimately make you happy. So the fact that you're struggling with it and the fact that you're resonating with it makes perfect sense. You are not alone. This is a struggle for all of us, myself included. The ways that this negative belief, the ways that this belief that you are defined by the numbers is holding you back is monumental. It's huge. It's happening in so many areas of your life, you don't even know it. So let me tell you where it's happening. Some of you right now are struggling with an all or nothing approach to your health. Either you're all in, you're doing a 6-week challenge where you're trying to lose a certain number of weight, or you're eating, perfect, or you're not, and you're completely off the rails. Why is that? I need you to understand part of the reason for that is because you believe that you are defined by the number on a scale. You are believing the lie right now that your self-esteem and your self-worth and the way that you view yourself, the quality of relationships that you'll have will change when you hit a certain number. The reason that we see so much ups and downs, so much yo-yoing in people's health transformations is because they're not looking at the big picture. When you just measure your success in your health journey based on weight, it tells half the story. I tell people all the time, I have gained and lost the same 80 pounds at least 8 times. And the reason I say at least is because I'm not certain if it was 9 or if it was more or if it was less. I stopped counting at a certain point. I stopped weighing myself. Now, for me, that was a decision I had to make. It might not be the decision that you have to make. But I stopped weighing myself because I knew that number, I'm number obsessed. I had to get rid of the Fitbit too. I'm number obsessed. If you put numbers in front of me, the way my brain works, I will get number obsessed, right? I will try to do anything I can to hit those numbers. I'll lose the point of why I started out on what I was attempting to do. A big part of this program, and you're going to learn about this, is that in order to be successful long-term at creating any change in rewriting your story, you have to determine what is your why. Why do you want to live a different life? So in your weight loss journey, the question is not, okay, I want to be 225 pounds. My question to you is why? Why do you want to be 225 pounds? Well, it would mean this, it would mean that, it would mean I could live this kind of life, it would mean I could live that kind of life. So what you're really after isn't 225 pounds, what you're really after is a new life. What you're really after is rewriting your story. That's what you're after. So you need to define what your why is, and then you need to start putting measurable goals towards that. This last time that I went through a weight loss transformation, I didn't weigh myself. Probably lost over 70 pounds again. But the difference here is the fact that I didn't weigh myself at the beginning. I haven't weighed myself throughout the transformation because none of that matters. That's not why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing this because 9 months ago, I found out that I had a second child on the way. And I knew I needed the energy, the vitality to live for that second child, my daughter Isabella. I already have one son, Antonio, he'll be 2 coming up here in a couple months. I knew in order for me to be who I needed to be for my kids, that I needed to get healthier. There's no number on a scale that would tell me whether I'm successful or not. I would feel that based on my energy levels. I would feel that in my ability about whether I could chase them around or not at night. I would feel that on whether I would go and have everything to give for my clients in my practice and still have time to make these videos and still have time to give to my kids after all of it was said and done. That's how I was going to measure success. Now, if you simply look at the number on a scale, it doesn't tell the full story. So for so many of you, you're looking at just a portion of the story. Some of you are saying that your journey has been a failed journey. You've regained the weight. You had all the money and you blew it. You made bad investments. But did you learn anything in that process? If you didn't, then that is a failure. But if you are learning from your mistakes, if you are learning from the evolution of your journey, then that is progress. Then that is something to be said. You know, every time that I put the weight back on, at a certain point I realized I'm learning more about myself. I learned what my triggers were emotionally. You know, when I don't treat my depression or anxiety, I tend to get in these cycles where I use food to comfort and escape. If I don't learn how to stop being a people pleaser, I'm gonna get myself into situations where my whole life is overloaded and there's no time for me. I had to learn that by failing in gaining the weight back. What have you learned in your journey? What are you learning right now, even though the scale or the money in the bank account says that you have failed? So here's the message. Here's the action plan. Develop a why that is bigger than weight loss. Your why for getting healthy, your why for rewriting your story has to be bigger than some number on the scale. It's got to be bigger than some dress size, some pant size. Your rewriting your story has to be bigger than just reaching some level of accolades, accomplishments, titles, numbers in the bank account. It's got to be bigger than that in order for it to be successful long term. For this program, the beauty is that you have a whole lesson devoted to that. That's stage 2, developing your why. So make sure that you go and you spend some time. Part of your action plan for this is developing a stronger why. And then finally, what I want you to do now is work backwards. What would it mean for you to be that number on a scale? What would it mean for you to have that dress size? A lot of that answer will tell you why you have a desire to be healthier or why you have a desire to rewrite your story. So you have to work backwards from that place. If you were to see that number on the scale that you've always wanted to see pop up, how would it change the way that you viewed yourself? How would it change the way you interacted with the world? Now, once you identify those things, that becomes the measurements that you need to have for success. And here's the beauty. You don't need to be that number in order to live that out today. The new ways of measuring success will be based on the life that you want to live when you've rewritten your story. Why not identify it now and start living it now? What would be one step in that direction? Michael White says it's not the size of the step, it's the direction that counts. Identify the direction you want to go. That will be your why. That will also create for you new ways of measuring success. As I mentioned, today I don't weigh myself. That's not the way I define success. I define it based on how I feel. I define it based on whether or not I'm able to live out my values and my ethics. So the second part of this is your values and your ethics are really the key to living a fulfilled life. What do you stand for? What do you want to be known for? It may sound dark, it may sound grim, but if someone was giving a eulogy about you, what would you want them to say about you? What would you want to be remembered for? Work backwards from that. Some of the things that I want to be known for is that I really was a loving, caring, compassionate person. Do I need to be a certain number on a scale to live that out? No. I want to be someone that's involved in community. Do I have to be a certain number on a scale to live that out? No. But I know what you're thinking. Some of you can relate to the fact that when you struggle with your weight, you feel like you shouldn't be in community. You want to isolate. But if that's a value and ethic you want to live out, start living that out now. It's almost that principle of acting as if. So act as if you're already that ideal weight. Act as if you're already there. But go live out your values and ethics. And if you don't know what your values and your ethics are, they're simply the things that are most important to defining you in your existence. You're most fulfilled when you're living these out. You're most fulfilled when you're doing these things. Some of you are saying, I will do all of those things once I weigh a certain number on a scale. And guess what? I want you to stop all of that. This affirmation is so important for you to get. You are not defined by the number. You are not defined by the number on a scale. You are not defined by the number in your bank account. You are not defined by any number. If you want to rewrite your story, you better get this affirmation.